Guys, I just wanted to do an update on kind of just where I've been and what my Mercury Retrograde and that whole time period, pretty much since the beginning of May. A little bit right at the end of February, but mostly since starting May. And I feel like I'm not fully where I need to be, but I'm better off and a lot more together, because in order to do this stuff, not only for my preservation, but I need to be in a certain place. And not only for my own, obviously, protection and well-being, but I mean, I'm not going to be doing things to like channel and open myself up to things or guide people, and I don't even know what's going on. And it was so many huge shifts. And I think they are still a little bit going on. I don't have that complete closure on it, but it's settling. So I just kind of wanted to do this while I could. And then also let you guys know just what my plans are and what's going on. So first off, I think what I'm going to do is I'm kind of a little backed up just because of, you know, stuff that's been going on. So I still have some free services that I have to get out. There's like 2 free readings that I have to do, you know, for those who won. Actually, I have like 2 other ones too. I have a lot of work that I'm backed up on, including some personal like paid services that I have to catch up on. So those of you also that have been waiting on like emails and stuff like that, thank you so much for being patient with me. Like honestly, I was thinking how grateful I actually am, because it blows my mind like how patient and understanding people are. So I'm super lucky when it comes to that. So thank you. I will be emailing you probably within the next 1 or 2 days. Some people are kind of just sitting stagnant, and I need to get the process going. So I will be doing that. And then trying to get caught up even on past stuff. Also, another thing that I kind of would like to play around with, to see maybe if it helps with energy-wise and consistency within the channel. Obviously, I'm still going through stuff also, and that is always going to come first. But I want to see if it kind of helps, to where maybe it'll be easy for me to like focus. I kind of want to start doing a trial basis and seeing what it's like, where the last 2 weeks of the month, I do the readings, like general readings. And then the first 2 weeks of the month is when I do personal stuff. Especially, I may not always do it like this, but especially while I'm getting my footing, my way, figuring things out, building my own energetic muscle, and what I can and can't do, and learning about myself and all of that. I think it'll help me with that. So I think I'm going to finish out up until somewhere around about the 15th, like I said, getting everything in order. And then I'm going to pop out the readings for May, starting somewhere around the 15th. So unless something comes to me to do, also this does not exclude, like if I randomly get an idea for like a video, or if I do like a just random talk video, or maybe even a little morning tarot video, which I do want to start doing, but I'm just not ready to incorporate that in yet. I want to have a level of consistency before I start adding in little stuff like that. But I feel like this will help me and focus and like be just in this energy and then go be in this energy. Unless like I do, like I said, random videos or emergency readings. Obviously they will be fit in wherever. So that's kind of my plan, going forward right now until further notice. I want to see if it helps me out, while I'm figuring things out. Because there's a lot involved in all this. You know, there's so much time in emails and the actual work and cleaning myself, prepping myself, like just everything about it. So I'm still figuring things out, and I feel like this will help me. So there's that. I hope I said all that right. So basically starting at the end of February, I was guided to do a higher heart meditation. Higher heart is usually here's your heart space, and it could be like, you know, where it combined, because I felt like my energy kind of stopped right here where it needed to go all the way through. And so I wanted to see about connecting, you know, all here is where I needed it. And so it went great. I could even feel like the one I was guided to had like a personal sun that you were connecting to. And I could feel the personal sun. I could feel the heat from it, everything like that. But when it came to the part of connecting it, I seemed to have an issue. And it seemed to bring up this, I don't know, it was like this tightness or this almost block feeling. It was really uncomfortable. So me and this lady that I know, she's a energy worker. She's in my shaman class. We're supposed to practice and do for our shamanic illuminations before our next direction. And so she ended up being more busy than she thought in her business, and was like, you could still stop by those. A lot of stuff I'm doing will be interesting for you. I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, I was hoping maybe you could clear something out during this or see something. I told her what had happened. She's like, well, come by, we'll look at it. And so we did some clearings. It did help. I was able to remove a lot of the energy. And then I went home, and my husband can see stuff too. So, you know, I was like, can you please, you know, look into my heart area and tell me what you see so I know what I'm looking at. I know something needs to be done. And so, you know, he tells me what he thinks on, you know, something I've done has, per what he says, energetically disconnected my heart from the rest of my chakras. So he did things that temporarily would help out, but then I had to work on opening that connection back to my heart. So, you know, I had seen this video and pretty much about tantric stuff a long time ago, and I'd always wanted to play around with that, like energetically, sexually, and all of that. So I've been talking about it and wanting to do it. And this night in particular, it wasn't like so much supposed to be sexual. I mean, you know, obviously it'd be great. That's hopefully where it goes. But my intention was just the energetic connection. So I was like, okay, before we do this, which is us doing certain like movement, sitting, energetically connecting, let's stare into each other's eyes for a few minutes to kind of ground ourselves to each other. And he had no problem, but I did. And I could not stay looking in his eyes. And I do think part of it was me, but I don't think so. I felt there was something else of an influence. And I'd even known that when I was seeing the other energetic working girl that's in my shaman class, that we had some stuff to clear out. And it seemed that it had cleared, but no. Now, backtracking also right before this, our shamanic teachers, if you will, we're going to be learning how to do soul retrievals. And she's like, I need somebody who will volunteer to do, let me do a soul retrieval on them and tape it or whatever. Which is funny because after my husband had looked at my heart area, I was like, I know I need a soul retrieval. And literally the next morning, he's like, did you see what she sent? You may want to respond to her. And I was like, yes, I would. I told her my situation. And she's like, oh, well, it seems like you really need it now. We'll go ahead and do yours ahead of time, and I'll still pull somebody else to do it. And so we were supposed to do it, but then it got delayed. So now fast forwarding back to this, looking, because I told her, I was like, I'd rather wait till the next weekend, and she's like, oh, well, I'll be done by then. So all right, whatever, my guides will guide it the way it needs to go. And it did get delayed. So when I'm trying to look at him, it's like I want to, but my eyes just keep burning to where I have to just keep closing my eyes and looking away. And I keep getting this fear that just keeps rushing up within me. And because I had been working for this for a while, like something was just, it was really strong, very fearful. There's a lot of fear I felt like I was working with. But it was strong. Like it was almost, you couldn't control it kind of way. And he had kind of seen, and then he picked something up and he was looking at me and started trying to locate what it was in there. And he had seen like 3 kind of, I don't even call it spirits, entities, maybe even past part of myself, I don't know. One of them was a little black girl. One of them was almost like a warrior girl with a lot of scars over her face. They were more quiet and, whatever. And then there was a really old woman, almost like a crone type woman. And she really wanted to be hidden. And I feel like she's been there a while. There's just a lot of other times she came up. But he was trying to do it in an intimidating way and was like, I will snatch her out. And I'm like, you need to be compassionate. Part of it, I'm scared. But every time that would come up, this fear would just like through my body. And I'm like, shit, wanting to like pull back. And I'm like, you need to be gentle, like be compassionate, like she's scared too, like whatever. And he's kind of chilling out, and he's like, I feel like you need to work on this tomorrow and journal, and you clear her out. And I felt like that was the right thing to do too. So I did what I was guided to, and I journaled, channeled with her, and figured out where she was from, why she was there, and basically laid down my boundary and was just like, it's not safe for you here anymore, and gave her a place to be able to go and continue her own journey and do her own thing. And I basically followed my intuition on how to do that. And it worked. I could feel the energy immediately clear. And especially that high level of fear that I had been working with for so long that I was like, I don't know how to work through this. I thought it was my own. And some of it is, but it makes sense because if you're vibrating in a fearful way, you're gonna bring that in. So, so then I actually do get the results of my soul retrieval. This was a distant soul retrieval. And it actually worked out because, and I think that's why it was delayed. So synchronicity all over the place happening. This was literally like 1 or 2 nights before that we did the whole eye gazing tantric thing. Next day I clear it out, get back together on those energies. Then like the next day she actually does the soul retrieval, and luckily was guided to do it to where I didn't know. And I'm actually happy it was done that way, just because of the high level of fear I was in. I tend to really hold my energy. So it allowed them to incorporate more. But basically, without going into the whole thing of it, it actually brought in 5 soul essences back to me. One of them was a group of 3. So one of them was me as a little girl, a young child, that was very scared, very alone. It just wanted to be with somebody. And it came back to me right away. The next one was a group of 3. And these were actually past lifetime soul essences, which she doesn't do it a whole lot, but she's like, I've never really had that before. But they were 3 of my past lifetimes. And one of them, the first one, I was a male in all 3. One of them, I had a wife and I had kids. And this makes me want to cry just thinking about it. I guess I had lost my job and I didn't know how I was going to provide for my kids and my wife. So, and I was having a hard time doing that. So that was a big thing in that lifetime. The next one, I was a male. I had kids and I had a wife, and I was like the chief or something of a tribe. I was a medicine man. And I befriended somebody, another guy from another village, whatever, tribe thing or whatever, and brought him in, you know, made him better, befriended him. And I went away, and when I came back, my whole village was basically ramshacked. All the women and the children were gone, and I guess taken to slavery. In the next lifetime, I was again a medicine man. I had children and a wife. And in that time, my village was taken over, and my wife and my kids and myself were taken to slavery. They weren't really reluctant at all to come back. I mean, they were told the work I was doing and stuff, so they did come back. And then I had, which this one I was pretty much anticipating, I had a soul essence come back that was a teenager, young adult self of mine from this lifetime. And, you know, I pretty much knew that she had left and anticipated her coming back. And she basically left because I was not taking care of myself and was hurting myself and putting myself in situations where I was being hurt. So it was too painful for her, so she left. And it did take some convincing to get her back. They go in and they try to look at your contracts and they rewrite them. And apparently I had so many lifetimes where when I followed my heart, it just led me to not good things. So I had made a vow that I was not going to trust my heart and that I was only going to think just as logically as I could. I don't know if that's why I didn't see so much earlier in my life. I don't really know. But the contract, like, I even put myself in a place that was like hard to get to, hard to find. I even put my souls in places that it was hard to find them, like even to distinguish which one was which. Like I was just very adamant about it. I'd even read 2 contracts instead of just one, and they both were destroyed and rewritten, and that it would be okay to trust my heart for guidance, hopefully with a balance, you know, of the 2. And so it was asked about that. Do you think I'd follow it? And she was like, yeah. And so she came back. So I had a little bit of integrating of that And I think a lot of that came later when these certain videos triggered me. But I had a session with somebody, and by the end of that session, I had already had a sore throat and had led to me being sick. So then when I'm sick, I can't do any work. I couldn't really do anything else. So I was like, oh, I'll just watch, kind of healing videos, informational videos. And it kept guiding me to videos that I feel like were pulling up this pain for me to process and work through. That was from this lifetime and the other lifetimes, the other souls that came back, which came up with, daddy wounds, family wounds, my ways, my thought process, forgiveness, and also in this time, I think my heart started opening, and I started realizing, like, even more, how much I love my husband, how lucky I am. I've always loved my husband, but I didn't realize until this time how guarded I was. Also possibly where my heart was split and not really fully committed. So, I've been working on that, and so my commitment is now coming in more and more, just being with my husband and not being so guarded. I could feel, the trusting, the vulnerability, like, more and more coming in, and kind of like loving more and more, giving of myself more and more. And as I'm doing this, these wounds start presenting themselves. These old fears, ways of thinking, wounds, all of this stuff. And this is a mix between, I start to become too much wanting to be around him, too much, like, that whole wanting my soul to intertwine with his, like, all the time, and losing myself again. It wasn't long. This was very short, just to, like, show me things. And then there's other videos I watched that triggered me, and they pulled up like fear, death issues, shame, guilt, how much I really am attached to things, loss, and feelings, like irrational thoughts of that something was wrong with me, or that something was going to be taken away from me. It's like as soon as my heart started opening up to it, all these thoughts and fears started coming up that it was going to be taken away, that he was going to leave me, or I wasn't going to have it, or whatever. You can imagine where all that would go. My mind even started, like, preparing for it. And again, this was only over like a couple days, and it wasn't like highly dramatic. I was containing most of it while also talking to my husband, which, thank God, he's an amazing guy. Just the way he can handle it and talk about it and stay the way he needs to stay and not be emotionally reactive about it. Like, he knows what's going on, so he knows not to be bothered by it. Like, he's just like, yeah. Like, he's compassionate, so he works through me with it, but, he doesn't let it faze him. It just shows, how secure he really is. It's a very attractive trait. And, just realizing, like, how much he really is like my best friend. and stuck by me really through a lot. Still is. I mean, I do with him too, but you know, I'm not easy. I'm not like a basket case, but especially through this whole transition since my awakening, you know, there's so many things that came up, even about my past and wounds and not knowing and certain other concepts of, you know, things that any other guy would worry about. And he never did. He never faltered. And I've been honest with him about everything. And that, you know, really means a lot. But Jesus, I can't even see now. And I was thinking about it too, and I realized, I know it's like weird to say, and it's a lot of you guys might not even care, and if you don't, like, just don't watch this. But something I say might help, and if not, like, you know, it's for me too, so it's whatever. But I realized how, I don't know if you guys caught my last video, but where I was saying like, oh, you know, it might benefit me to look into like a male coach or, you know, someone who could help me, because there was a lot of things that I was never taught that I should have been. And I realize now that through a lot of my exes, I was trying to learn about the ideals and the masculine energy and how to cultivate that in myself, and that whole, you know, protection and action and, you know, advice and the stuff that a masculine energy, a balanced masculine energy is usually supposed to teach their child. And I realized how much, you know, because my husband's always like, I'm not going to raise no girl. That's their daddy's issue or whatever. You know, that's their stuff. He's always talking about other people. And he actually did without even realizing it. Like a lot of the stuff, you know, I didn't get from my family because my parents split when I was a baby. I don't even remember them ever being together. So I would every like summer or winter go see my dad when I was younger. And my husband did. Like, he pretty much did take on that daddy role of showing me really the value that a dad is supposed to show their daughter. That, you know, comforting, that security, the healing, all the emotional things that he didn't have to do. You know, he didn't have to do, but he did. And even in teaching me, there's just so much that I've learned from him. So anyways, so this has all been an emotional roller coaster. There's beautiful, there's ugly, there's beautiful that leads to the ugly, and then the ugly that leads to even more beautiful, and it's just like all over the frickin' place. Because of course, you know, you had Mercury in retrograde in Pisces in your subconscious, all those deep things. So it's all this stuff coming up. So, you know, that subsides. That wasn't, you know, that long on the fears of that. Then I had another session with the same girl that I was, you know, got sick with by the end of it. And she helped me a lot, you know, right before I got around to helping her. So thank you very much for that. I hope you know you are. And then I was due to go back down south and do my advanced Reiki training and holy fire. And I mean, that was like a healing retreat in itself. So a lot I had to process through that. There's no way I can explain to you all the stuff that happened during that, but the amount of healing and epiphanies and realizations and just energetic stuff that was happening in my body was unreal. But one thing I did that did come up to me that I will say, because I do feel like this kind of gives a good example of what I'm saying, like when I say with people like chasing after people or why they can't disconnect from their energy or whatever, and a lot of things you don't know. There's a lot of people right now, and they may be spiritual relationships, or it may be a twin flame, or I don't know, who cares. Like, right now, there's a lot of things of purging and getting rid of stuff in your subconscious that's holding you back. And your body knows how to do it. So it can even do that by bringing other things in. And you also have a soul tie. So a lot of times you're connected to that person. But, and this is why I say, you know, it's really good to just focus on you and do your work in figuring this stuff out. Because, you know, I've done a lot of things to disconnect from, you know, certain people, but especially one person's energy. And little by little, I've been doing it, and it's good, it's working, you know. But there's still, I mean, there will always be something there, but there still was one thing. Yeah, I could tell there was things I wasn't seeing. Like I was not seeing something. And I think there's still more. There's still more that's going to come, but something that I was not seeing. And when we were doing something within that weekend of the Holy Fire and the ART for Reiki, it was one of the other experiences or ignitions or something. I don't even remember the thought that led me there. It just right into my head. I realized that it was his family. And looking back, that also makes sense in so many ways. It's not the only reason. It was definitely, you know, a first love, a teaching of self-love type thing. You know, subconscious wounds acting on, you're too young to know. And I realized that because when I was 18, because I wasn't allowed to date him, in order to see him, I had to move in with him and his family. I guess in order to see him more. It was just too difficult because in my house I would have had to lie or whatever. And I'm just not a liar. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. It doesn't sit right with me. So the couple times I had to, I didn't like it. And so as soon as I turned 18, I left and I moved in with him and his family, which I'm super grateful for. But I realized that, I didn't realize it at the time. I realize it now that it was like the first time I actually felt that family feeling I had never, you know, felt as a child. I mean, I'd had like stepfather, brothers and stuff. It wasn't the same. It was a different feeling. And so basically in a nutshell, I didn't just lose him, because I think at that point I had already known by the time that happened, but it was a loss of the family in many different ways. And so, because even now, like I still did not piece it together, like even with my husband's family, like I love them, but I am somewhat closed off and reserved. And I've even explained it to him where it's like, in case something ever happens, I mean, this is my own fault, my own things I need to work through, but in case something ever happens, I don't want to go through the heartbreak of that. I didn't realize how deep it had affected me. And it was also an illusion when I was younger too. I mean, I think I cared for them more than they cared for me. Not that anything's wrong with that. It was my own wants and desires and all that, I guess. But so a loss of a family too. So I had to deal with that as well, which also even kind of mirrored and showed in other relationships that I was friends with them or they had a family or something like that. And when it went down, it was harder on me because I had to lose the family. So, and a lot of what he represents to me is family for some reason, but and other people. So I realized there's this theme that's playing out in my life of family and loss, which is, at least in 2 of my past lifetimes, I lost my family. So I don't know. I think it was playing out because of that. But, I do see the gratitude in the situation. But I think that's why it hit so hard in a couple different scenarios, relationships in my life where they were some of the more like meaningful ones and traumatic, if you will, because of the family dynamic. So that was a big thing I realized. I realized that that was a huge part of the connection, and why certain things hurt so bad, why it felt like such a big loss. And then I also had things too where I had to like reiterate my boundaries with people. I did a healing distant Reiki with somebody, and that went great, except for something initiated some stuff inside me. I don't know if I took on that. This is all the hard stuff also, being a spirit, like a healer, like the stuff that you have to deal with. Like whether I accidentally picked something up and then now I've got to work through it. So I've got to learn either better boundaries or just to cleanse myself off better, or unless it was just something that was vibrating in me that doing through her healing brought it up in me, but it brought something back up between my shoulder blades and nausea, and I have had to work through that. And then again, I found other videos that further brought me clarification, ideas, epiphanies, all this stuff, because they were based on concepts based on my past and how people were and the way they treat you, manipulation. And I see now how when I was younger, I didn't see it, and how people can play off those things. And so that was very healing for me. A little bit, like, I guess you could say angry, but not really, unless it just hasn't surfaced yet. I do realize I have anger that I don't know really fully what anger feels like that is surfacing. So I don't know. But either way, I understand it here. I don't know if it's still fully integrated yet, but of why I miss things and why in a lot of ways I was able to be manipulated. Not saying that from a victim point of view, but it is what it is. And how I manipulated myself mostly. So then that I then watched another movie, and that brought up more purging, and, me checking my perceptions even, where it's like, kind of like showed me the mentality of somebody could see in their mind, like the Notebook type idea, and it's really more like Baby Boy, or like Ike and Tina Turner or something. I don't know. But it really goes to show you, like, I know I said this before, but just really how much I really love my husband, and him walking this journey with me. Like, God knew what he was doing when he had him by my side during this point in my life. And his trust and support, I mean, it matters so much. And him even being able just to be able to like maintain, like not to be over emotional. I already have enough coming up myself. It would be crazy to be with somebody else who's emotional right now. And he's just so strong and secure and just able to be that backbone that I always was. So it means a lot to finally have someone else who is actually mine. I mean, you know what I'm saying. And it's crazy too, because I mean, I'm always a nurturing type, but I'd gone into such a self-preservation mode that I was never one of those people who was like, oh, I want to do stuff for my man or my husband, or I would cook, but I would cook because I like good food. So we're going to eat good. I would have certain things, even like, with my house and whatever. It's not because I want to maintain a certain image. It's just, I'm a Taurus sun. So they're very much about the tangible, you know, like things you could feel, you can sense, you could touch, you can sensually get to explore and feel and enjoy. And so, you know, just for providing and cooking, but, you know, even just looking at the way I talk, looking at, you know, what I provide to him and being there for him, like almost even this serving or like looking up to way. Kind of, I guess you would a father, but I was always like, I could never understand how women, I still don't know if I could fully be that woman, you know, not that it's wrong in any way, but where their whole life is about making their man happy. I definitely don't want to do that. I feel like that's completely unbalanced. Like, I still want to go on my journey and find out what makes me happy too. But I find myself more and more thinking about, you know, what would he like? What would make him, you know, happy? Excuse me. How can I show my gratitude? Just looking to him and trusting him. Because when you're in a self-preservation mode, especially when you don't trust people or you can't trust people and you have to go off your own, like, even if somebody's right, they're not going to be able to see that you're right. They're not going to be able to truly listen to you and let you in because they're in such a self-preservation mode. They're so closed off. And it's like just more and more of me is being like chipped away more and more. And, you know, I finally see, you know, that part where I don't have to have that hard protective exterior, and I can let him in and I can trust him and trust what he says and trust his motives and trust that he's going to pull through on the stuff that he says and what he does. And if he doesn't, I'm working on myself to be able to ride that wave and that journey of life. But to really see that thing that people talk about when you serve and you serve as a wife. And I just understand it more now, which is still kind of scary to me, you know, because I've spent all my life being in that, like, you know, just not self-preservation, 50-50, you know, just do your own thing. And now it's like more and more just growing in me in that, you know, it's uncomfortable and it's very vulnerable and finding that balance and doing that. But because it's, my heart is just growing more and more and opening up, I think what it comes down to that I'm really getting is gratitude. It's showing your love, but it's showing your gratitude. And when you really love somebody, you know, a partner, a man, whatever, a partner, when you really love them and your heart really opens up, I think that's why you do those things, is to show your gratitude and to show your love. It's not about control. It's not about that that's your role. A little bit of that does go into it. I mean, we're still humans at the end of the day, and there's still that primal instinct. So as you're healing on this, you still are going into that, like, male, female role, you know, like, whatever. But I guess the point of it is in showing your gratitude and having your trust, you finally are in a situation where you can trust to release that, and where you can trust to fully open up, of course, open and close, you know, and stuff. But to also know, even if you are married, you still got to maintain a balance within yourself. Don't just throw yourself on the table. Connect with your higher self or God, whatever. You get the drill. Especially if you watched my last video, the Taurus one. But to not only show gratitude, but it's just that masculine and feminine energy. And I do need to cultivate a little bit more of my masculine energy in a balanced way. So I am working on that. But it's also at the same time balancing out my feminine energies. And I think that's why I'm starting to get to that whole, like, not woman as a server type thing, but just to where, God, how do I say this without sounding like, ugh? you know, like how they say to obey your husband. Clearly, you could see my conflict that is healing at the moment. Never that it's asked and never that it's demanded. But it's almost like just by the way it's going, it's like, I want to. Not always. You know, I'm still difficult. And I'm still going to say what I think. And if I think that he's missing something or something, then I will always tell him. But just in showing the gratitude and respecting and honoring him and trusting in the manly place in the house. You know, I don't know. I know on one end that's just like, really? Because, you know, so many things are going to new age and equality and all this stuff. But I think a lot of the equality is just because of the healing and stuff that needs to be. When you really get past all those blocks and all those guards and everything like that, you start to then come back to your primal nature again and get back into that masculine and feminine energies. And, you know, he's more balanced than I am, I guess. Don't ever tell him that. But he probably is, let's be honest. So, you know, now that I am, and then he is healing a little bit too, we're literally coming into this balanced energy where it's just kind of working out that way. And I don't know, like, I love him and I want to open myself up to him and I want to make him happy. And I don't know, I wish I could come up with a better word than serve. Maybe you guys can think of it. Put it in the comments below if you can. But you get what I'm saying. I hope you get what I'm saying. Not relinquish your control, and you're not that you're made to or like you're a servant or anything like that, but because you love him or her or whatever. And you do it because you love, because you respect, because you trust, and because you have gratitude. You honor them. Kind of like a king and a queen would, you know what I mean? Like a king fully honors and respects his wife, as does a queen to the king. So I don't know. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying in all this, and there's really even no point in all this. Maybe something I say will help, but mostly I just wanted to share and, I don't know, get the energy out, and this is where I've been, and this is what I've been doing, and it's been so all over the place that I'm sure there's a lot I can't even remember. And honestly, I don't even, like, it's like it was so much that I have to, like, try to remember it. Besides the fact that I journal every day now. Excuse me, so it is in my journal. I can go back to that and somewhat recall it, but it was just so much in a flash. It's just, you know, so many lessons, so many epiphanies, so many downloads, so many releases, so many karmic patterns. Oh, yeah. And so then after my holy fire, before I left and went home, the same lady, she does healings too. So she did a healing on me. Excuse me. And there was karmic patterns and a, you know, curse, if you will, on my mother's side that was like 5 generations back that, you know, portrayed or contributed also to the shame, the guilt, all that stuff. That was healed and cleared out. A lot of stuff, and I could feel it when I was on there. A lot of the healing, like my whole body was just buzzing and felt like it was just floating above the table. And there was a lot here that was blocking. A lot of this was cleared out, although it comes and goes, but it had moved up and it was here. This needs to be cleared out. And I could feel it. The pressure, like my head felt like it was going to pop off. And so that eventually released, but it was something for me to work through later, and to build relationships with, you know, guides and higher ups and basically Jesus. And just any, like, 3rd level heaven and above guides that are there to guide me and to look at things in possibly a different way, to release certain attachment, to release certain soul ties. There was just healings that were happening. Also, there was another one part of my soul that was returned back to me. It was a childhood part also. And that was, it's weird because she saw this little girl with like red pigtails and freckles. And it's so funny because like when I was younger, I used to love Pippi Longstocking. I don't know if you guys remember Pippi Longstocking, but I used to love Pippi Longstocking. And it's funny because that's what I thought of. She was supposedly my little childhood spirit that was guiding me during certain times, like when I was lonely or whatever. And she was released and thanked because, you know, wasn't needed anymore, so she could go. And that's what came to my mind was Pippi Longstocking. And I didn't really ever say that to my husband or anything. And when I was telling him about it, he's like, you know what that makes me think of? And I'm like, what? And he's like, Pippi Longstocking. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm thinking of. So I have no idea how that works. I don't know if it really was Pippi. I don't know if I made a spirit out of her. I don't even know how that works. But it's just kind of eerily weird because as soon as she was saying it, she's like, did you look like this as a kid? I'm like, no. Never had freckles, never had little red hair. Kind of brownish red, but no. But Pippi came to my mind. I don't know. But anyways, that childhood part of myself was returned back to me, another childhood part. And then there were two other parts of my soul that had taken off and was in this really like kind of dark looking dungeon area type thing. And apparently they were healed and brought back to source. Like they were really scared. It was really dark, kind of like stuck there and chained in there. And I could almost even feel the darkness of that until it was removed, weirdly enough. And then, so I was talking to my husband. I was like, I don't understand why though. Why wouldn't it come back to me? And he's like, well, it makes sense to me. It's, it was healed. It went back to your higher self, you know, so that part of your soul is now there and contained there because, you know, it didn't need to come back here. There was no reason for it and it's safer there. And instead of it coming back and possibly getting wounded and taken off again. So I don't really know, but, as I'm doing all these things more and more, you know, things are coming together, things are purging. I'm finding more and more of who I am and what I want to do. And I don't know. I remember back in the day, because I've always been so scared to do things in my life that when people talk about stuff like ayahuasca, I'm like, I would never do that. And because ayahuasca is like a psychedelic, I want to say hallucinogen, but you know, yeah. So now more and more, especially since I'm getting closer and closer to going to like plant spirit medicine, I feel really called to do plant spirit medicine. It very, very much vibes with me. I'm good at it. We communicate well. I can tell that I'm getting closer and closer to doing ayahuasca. So I don't know. Like on one hand, I'm like, I mean, that in itself is facing a huge fear of mine, especially in the thought of losing my freaking mind. But I feel called to do it. And it's like, I could feel it getting closer and closer, but I could feel like it's cleansing me and purging me before I do it. But that's my part of my journey that I want to walk. Maybe one day, help facilitate, ceremony and stuff like that. But, I would like to meet her if I could. That would be great. And her, like Mother Ayahuasca, and show me things, especially about myself or my family or whatever. I don't know. I'm just feeling more and more called to do it. And it's building up around me. There's facilitators around me and ones that I work with and I'm friends with and stuff. So the journey continues. And this is where I am. I am feeling better. So like I said, I'm probably going to continue with my plan, like I said in the beginning of this video. So I really love you guys. I want to do a video, honestly, just on that, on how much I love you guys. Like, you really have no idea how great it is to have this type of support system. Because when you're going through this, you know, it's not always like everyone around you is going to be going through the same thing, because sometimes you're going to go through it and pave the path for other people, you know. So either way, it's great. I mean, just the community, the understanding, the patience, I mean, even during this, I've been gone for like, I don't even know, what is it, like a month and a half or something, and I cannot explain to you how patient you guys have been with me. Even people who have gotten services. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. I will be talking to you guys soon. I love you guys. Thank you for those who have stuck with me. Much love to those who haven't. Really haven't lost a lot of people, so it doesn't really matter. But I hope all of you guys are going well through your journey, and that your Mercury retrograde, and I mean, there's so much stuff astrologically going on right now. But just wanted to share, touch base, let you guys know what was going on, and really just get this out of me too. So thank you for that. Thank you for walking this journey with me. And thank you so much for allowing me to walk this journey with you. I love you guys. I'll be seeing you soon.